Here's something most people never realize. You see, the narrative of a political scandal is often well crafted before the first fact is ever reported. In other words, you think you're watching a news report, but your brain is actually receiving a carefully engineered emotional script. Hey, we're breaking down a recent investigation into political spending to show you 4 key persuasive techniques pundits use to frame a story and guarantee you get angry, even before they've finished talking. Hi, I'm Allen Stafford, and welcome to Think Sharper. See, my background is in marketing and neuroscience, which means I've spent over 30 years studying the mechanics of how we're persuaded. And this channel, well, it isn't about telling you what to think. It's about giving you the tools to see how manipulative language and hidden frames are designed to do the thinking for you. And my mission, well, that is to help you improve your critical thinking skills so you can see the world, hopefully, more clearly. So let's get started. All right, the first and most critical technique is what I like to call the ad hominem frame, or in plain language, character assassination. So this first concept is the classical logical fallacy ad hominem, which means when a person attempts to discredit an argument by attacking their character, motives, or circumstances rather than the facts. So why does this work on your brain? Well, your brain is wired to simplify complex information. If a pundit can categorize a person as unserious or corrupt early on, your brain saves energy by dismissing everything else they say or do later. You basically stop listening for facts and start looking for confirmation of the bad character you've already assigned. See, in the upcoming clip, the pundit, which is the news anchor in this case, primes your emotional response by establishing a character who is more concerned with vanity than duty. The exact dialogue is the following.
Because since Noam took over DHS at the beginning of the year, she's become known for appearing to be more obsessed with putting on various costumes than doing her actual job. I mean, she donned a bulletproof vest just to talk to her own agents. She wore a Customs and Border Patrol uniform on Fox News. And of course, she is constantly, and I mean constantly, throwing on a cowboy hat and riding horses. Always with plenty of cameras around to capture the moment.
See, by framing the politician as a vain, unserious person who loves costumes and photo ops, they lay the psychological groundwork for you to believe the corruption claims that follow that. You are basically less likely to extend the benefit of the doubt to this person. Again, I'm not commenting on the truth of the content, but on the strategy being used to manipulate how you think. So how might we apply this to daily life? I mean, you see this on social media all the time. Instead of refuting someone's idea, the person attacks the source. So if someone posts a well-researched article on an economic issue, for example, a commenter doesn't attack that data. What they do is they attack the person. You know, and they say something like, why should I listen to a broker who drives a 10-year-old car, for example? I mean, that is the ad hominem frame. You have to separate the messenger from the message. All right, lesson 2 is loaded language and emotional inflation. See, once the pundit has established the bad guy character, the next step is to load the narrative with emotional fuel. This is the strategic use of loaded language. And here's the concept of loaded language. What it does is it replaces neutral terms with high connotation or emotionally charged words that are specifically designed to elicit an extreme emotional reaction, usually outrage or fear, beyond their dictionary definition. And so why does this work on your brain? Well, our amygdala, which is the brain's emotional center, reacts instantly to high charged words, creating an emotional spike that overrides the rational assessment of the underlying facts. See, the pundit, in this case, the news anchor, is making you feel the emotion instead of letting the facts create that. See, in this next clip, the pundit tells you how to feel with their word choice. Regardless of the truth of the content, the facts, a no-bid contract, and an unknown LLC are presented with emotional fuel.
In any era, any other era, I should say, would be a career-ending scandal. But to understand the pattern of corruption of this woman, plays on the TV near the president, is a bizarre waste of taxpayer money. $30,000, it turns out, is a drop in the bucket, making and airing ads. And the rest of that money is where the story gets truly bonkers. 143 million taxpayer dollars went to this kind of mysterious LLC in Delaware. An LLC that was created just days before it got.
See, what she does here is replace neutral terms with loaded ones to force your emotional commitment to their conclusion. They're not waiting for you to get angry. They're telling you to be angry. So how do we apply this to our daily life? Well, think about a simple financial disagreement you might have. If you say something like, we need to discuss reducing our budget to the family, that's a factual statement, right? But if your family member says you're trying to impose a draconian cut that, will basically slash our entire quality of life, what they're doing is they're using loaded language. They are replacing a neutral term with an extreme, emotionally charged one to get you to panic. Look past the adjectives and ask, what is the neutral factual noun I'm dealing with here? Okay, lesson 3 is the interview pivot. You see, when the subject of a report is forced to respond, pundits teach us to spot a defensive technique I call the non-answer, which is a specific form of the interview pivot. Here's the concept. See, the non-answer is when a difficult, specific question is answered with a statement that may be true, but is completely irrelevant to the question that was asked. I know it's a mouthful. So why does this work on your brain? Well, you see, the brain is a pattern matching machine, organ to be specific, that seeks closure. It hears a statement that sounds relevant, like it's about the same topic, and it often accepts it as an answer, even when it's not. So in this next clip, the agency was asked, why did you choose that mysterious LLC? The specific question was about contracting procedure. Who approved this vendor? What was the vetting process? Why this company over others? And the answer, well, that was about policy success. The host quotes the response directly.
Now, when asked why the agency chose that LLC, DHS said, quote, the results speak for themselves, and then proceeded to claim that Trump has made the border the most secure it has been in American history. Not exactly answering the question.
All right, notice what happened. The question was narrow and specific. Explain the contracting decision. Well, the response, that was broad and triumphant. Look how well we're doing overall. This is a classic deflection tactic. Pivot from the uncomfortable how to the celebratory what. What it does is it allows the subject to end a line of questioning by simply asserting a triumphant outcome, hoping basically it'll get swept up in the headline and forget what was actually asked. And your job as a critical thinker is to hold the line and demand, yes, but does that answer the question? So applying this concept to our daily life, I like to call this the boss move non-answer. So imagine you ask a colleague, hey, why didn't you meet the deadline for that report? Their reply might be, well, I've been working 60-hour weeks this month to ensure the entire department hits all our goals for the quarter. I mean, it sounds great, right? And it garners sympathy, but it's pure smoke. It's an effective pivot because it substitutes an ambitious goal for an answer about a specific failure. And that's it. And finally, the pundit closes the loop with a technique I call pattern building. This is the most powerful cognitive trick because it turns an isolated incident into a lifetime of guilt. Here's the concept. Pattern building uses repetition of a key negative phrase and the introduction of a past similar event to create a narrative of a sustained pattern of behavior. Okay, bear with me on this. Well, why does this work on your brain? Well, our brains are pattern matching machines, as I've discussed in previous videos. See, if we hear rigged contract across 2 different jobs, we begin to treat it as an established, undeniable truth, a part of that person's character, so to speak. The past example triggers a strong confirmation bias that makes the new information feel 100% correct. So here's the strategy. The host connects the current scandal to a prior unrelated job using the following allegation to paint a pattern of rigging.
ProPublica reports that a former official from Nome's South Dakota governor's office has since alleged that the bidding process was rigged. The former official said that a top Nome aide told them the governor would be angry if Strategy Group didn't win the contract.
All right, see, the goal is to link the current facts to a historical narrative of manipulation. The pundit has rhetorically established a character flaw that makes the current facts not just believable, but expected. And the daily life application for this year concept is prevalent in relationship drama and office gossip. You see, if a friend tells you a story about a coworker being rude once, that's a single event. But if they immediately follow up and say, hey, remember that time they lied about their resume and that time they took credit for my idea? What you've done is you've created a pattern of bad behavior. Each event may be distinct, but through repetition and grouping, you've solidified a single negative character trait in your listener's mind. Pretty good, huh? But you see how the narrative is built. First, they dismiss the subject's character. Then they inflate the facts with emotional language. Then they reject accountability with a non-answer. And finally, they seal the case by painting a pattern of guilt. See, your goal isn't to disbelieve the story, but to dissect the delivery. Critical thinking allows you to extract the facts from the frame. If you can spot these 4 techniques, you become immune to the manufactured outrage out there. Tell me, which of these 4 techniques do you see pundits use most often, or heck, maybe in your own family or at work? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you want to keep learning how to think sharper and spot the rest of the tricks in the Pundit Playbook, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out the full playlist on the Pundit Playbook on my YouTube channel. I'm Allen Stafford, and I'll see you in the next video.